Yeah, what's good, Josh? Your man, the Bigga P, and here to share my thoughts on yesterday's PBC on ESPN card. I believe it was the second one. The second PBC card that's aired on ESPN. The last one was, of course, was Keith Thurman versus Luis Colazo. Um, I did not do a video for that. I've actually, been pretty busy in the last month or so. Although I've watched the fights at given times. It's been a little busy too. I've been a little busy too, a little bit too busy to make the videos like I like to do. Hopefully my time's freed up a little bit. So as long as the cards are, pretty high quality, I'll try to share or notable, I should say. I will try to share more of my thoughts in the coming months or so. But yes, this card. The main event, of course, was Danny Garcia. The story is, he had been tired of draining. I read the stories, of all the ridiculous draining stuff he was doing just to make 140. And then, even though he hadn't fought at 140 since he got that gift decision over Mauricio Herrera um, last year, so this was now he had officially had dropped the WBC belt, and I don't know what the status of the WBA belt is at this time. I don't know if he's still keeping it or they're keeping him as a super champion or whatever nonsense that the WBA likes to do. Um, so the thing is, he was going to go to welterweight. Now, of course, this is a long time coming. He probably should have done this after soon as probably after that fight he had with Matisse 2 years ago. Um, he probably would have been in a better position. It is in this game, of course, in this point. And now, because he didn't do it, his stature has lowered quite a bit. With the Herrera fight, and then fighting Rod Salka, and then after that fight with Lamont Peterson. Um, so yeah, Danny's now in a situation where he has to impress and impress big time. So, which pretty much was, pretty much I'm pretty sure it made Heyman look like who can we actually grab at 147 to make sure that's not going to give Danny too much of a hard time. Um, Paulie Malignaggi, yes, Paulie Malignaggi, the guy who has not fought in give or take 16 months. I mean, the last time we saw him fight, he was brutalized within 4 rounds by Sean Porter. Um, Badly brutalized, um, and had not had a warm up since. So originally, so with that fight now, I'm already thinking to myself, this is going to be some bullshit because it's like now Danny, who has actually been active but has not looked good, I would expect him to look a lot better than the guy who hasn't fought in 16 months, and combined with not having too much punching power and slowing reflexes. But he's a name. So that's what counts. You gotta have a name to introduce instead of finding another maybe another lower rank or journeyman at 147 to put him in against. So but we'll get to that fight. Um, the the co-main event, the undercard, was Danny Jacobs versus Sergio Mora. This fight is it well, like I said, this is one of the things. This is one of the issues I have with PBC matchmaking. It's very all over the place. Although I do understand how Mora got this fight because he holds one of those minor titles, the USBA middleweight title. And pretty much, you hold one of those titles, you get a ranking. Um, and then you have Danny Jacobs, who's pretty much has had a very carefully orchestrated plan to the version of the belt that he has. I mean, now this is where, of course, I said in the past where WBA loses me at times because the WBA middleweight champion of the world is Triple G. He is the actual WBA middleweight champion. So to have another champion, it's not even was because I know they have their super champion, and as if they actually hold more than 2 belts, and then they have the regular champion, and I think they utilize an interim too as well. And who the interim actually inherits the belt, I don't even know. But then that's the whole WBA stuff. But let me not get sidetracked by that. But yeah, Danny Jacobs. I mean, yes. Ever since he came back from cancer, which could have, prematurely not only ended his career but his life as well. He's had, several carefully orchestrated fights. The person who won a title to, who he won his title from, was no one ranked that I knew of. um, and then in his last fight, Caleb Truex, unfortunately, was not a barber. Although he ended spectacularly in a knockout, it was a fight that took him 12 rounds to do, and he probably could have done it in an earlier round, in the earlier rounds. But nonetheless, he's a recognized champion. And Mora won his eliminator. I think it was like a split decision over A.B. Hahn. So yeah, that's what we got this fight. Now this fight on paper, you're either gonna say, oh, Jacobs even gonna go for the knockout, or is Mora gonna spoil him? I wasn't expecting any knockdowns in this fight. So yeah, but you know what they say about boxing? Boxing is the sport, it's the theater of the unexpected. And round one of that fight was most certainly the case. After a feeling out process, Jacobs lands an absolute hard right hand that sent Mora down. Um, I don't think that was Mora's first knockdown, if I remember, but it is the first time I've seen. If it is, I mean, I think he may. I don't know if he went down with Vernon Forrest or maybe went down another fight, but he went down. But I think this is the first time I saw him authoritatively put down by a shot. And then I was like, okay, Jacobs is he's ready to fight. But then he gets up and Jacobs got too eager, and he pretty much walked in, and then Mora absolutely blasted him with a left hook as he was coming in. Perfect counter left hook that dropped him heavily. And that was when I was like, I adjusted my glasses like, okay, this is interesting. Mora just dropped Danny Jacobs. So they traded knockdowns. And so they're going back at it, and then couple seconds later, Mora knocks out Jacobs' mouthpiece. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, Mora is not going to lie down. He's not going to be spoiling. And that first round was like, okay, this may build up into something. The second round, I think this is when Mora really started doing his spoiling again. But he started languishing on the ropes a little bit too much and got caught with a body shot. As he was going down, I saw, he was tangled up with Jacobs, and in the process, like, you could see his knee or his ankle just fold in a horrific direction. And I was like, oh crap. And I was like, oh crap, this is going to bring a premature end to the fight. And unfortunately, he did. Although I do commend Mora because he did get up. He got up, and although he was limping, I was like, okay, shake it off, But then, unfortunately, he was limping a little bit too much, so he had to stop the fight, which is a disappointment because you're thinking, okay, this fight is going to get good. And then Mora, as soon as they stick a microphone in his face, Mora's immediately like saying, "Oh, should be a no contest." This, that, and the third. And then Danny's like, "Rematch? No rematch." And then talks about going after Quillen, which is another fight that doesn't really interest me either. But what are you gonna do? Beggars can't be choosers, right? So, it's premature, and you had a feeling that maybe this fight was going to become something, but unfortunately, it was cut short. However, round one is probably unquestionably a round of the year candidate because you weren't, because no one was expecting that to actually happen. It was a tough break for Moore. When he comes back from his fracture, I have no doubt in my mind he's going to go try to have this turn into a no contest. And I know he's going to try to run. He's going to want to run that back with Jacobs, and Jacobs doesn't seem to have any interest in doing so. But we'll see. It was entertaining for a while it lasted. Because the fight was so short, then we got they aired one of the swing bouts, Pritchard Colon versus Michael Finney. Wasn't expecting much from that. Uh, it ended, however, this fight also ended in a brutal knockout by Colon landing, some absolutely brutal right hands against Finney. And you're thinking that Finney was okay, he was ready to fight, but as soon as he got up, I mean, dude just hugged the referee like ASAP, he didn't want to even fight no more. That had me rolling a little bit because I was like, damn, like you actually got up from that, and then the first thing you want to do is just hug the ref. Like, he laid down on that one. But what do you? I mean, but at least it ended. I mean, swing by ended shortly. But hey, I mean, it was decent for a while. Last, it wasn't overly entertaining, but ended in a nice violent KO, and from a possible prospect. So nothing more to say about that. So it brings us back to the main event: Danny Swift Garcia versus Paulie Malignaggi. My thoughts on the fight, basically, it was not a good fight. I'll flat up and down. There's no way to really to put the fight. It was not good. I didn't enjoy watching that sparring session. Just like I didn't enjoy the segment earlier with Rosie Perez, who, by the way, who probably needs to be on TV more for boxing. And I found her enthusiasm refreshing, so to speak. She's clear. She's a huge fan. She's a knowledgeable fan. I mean, she was name dropping Wilfred Benitez and Mark Braylon, like it was nothing. And and she did a better job in that role than Layla Ali was, and Layla's the actual pro. It was the actual pro. Um, but But yeah, she does a wonderful job, and I could see. I mean, if Heyman was smart, I would actually hire her to do some of these PBC cards, because like I said, she has a knack for it. She has a little flair for it, and it comes off like she generally likes boxing, likes talking about it and engaging with the fighters. With that being said, though, the segment before the actual fight was nauseating, between the thong and then Danny's mutant six toe. He just put his feet on the table like it was a thing to do in a restaurant. I mean, like, come on, what the fuck? And I just finished eating my pizza. I'm like, this is like, I'm over here like this is absolutely disgusting. Um, but yeah, I didn't like this one because it didn't seem like these two were didn't like each other. I mean, they probably did, but when you're trying to sell a fight, I want to see something in that fight. I mean, it shouldn't be at a table. I mean, it should be like a face to face. I mean, it should have been intense, like HBO usually does, or something like that. But they didn't hate each other, so already I wasn't already like my expectations for this fight actually being decent were lowered even more. I mean, like I said, the fight was a sparring session. Pretty much, Paulie, although he tried, usually he was just trying to throw his jabs, and he threw an occasional right hand or an uppercut, right uppercut. But it was just way too much. I mean, it looked pretty much Danny was probably a middleweight, and Paulie looked like a damn lightweight in the ring. Paulie couldn't hurt him. But however, what Paulie did do that I found very telling about this fight was he barely got touched. He didn't get knocked down at all, which I found actually surprising. But he also didn't get touched as much. He made Danny look absolutely foolish at times with the swing. Like he was ducking low under the hook. He was not giving Danny a chance to land any of that punch. And if he wasn't that, he was catching him. Paul was catching him on his hands. He was utilizing he was switching between high guard and using the shell. He did better defensively than I would have expected. But like I said, it was just the size and probably the 16 months out of the ring. He eventually got worn down. He got opened up in the fifth round. I think it was like the fourth or the fifth round. And then, he took too much. It was just too much size for him to overcome. Danny, Danny right now. Like I said, I guess it's a decent debut at 147. It's not spectacular. I mean, especially when you have, when you have Porter who blew Paulie away, with 4 rounds, and then you see Danny. Footwork was exposed. Nothing. I mean, I didn't see anything. I would say that's improved a lot, especially from the Peterson fight. Except for the fact that I didn't see him except he didn't really gas out. But like I said, I mean, he was just throwing. He was just throwing with murderous intentions. He just wanted to. I mean, although the jab count says he was actually throwing jabs, I didn't really see too much of jabbing that he was doing. I mean, if he was, I would, because if he was actually really setting up those jabs, I would have seen a repeat. I would have seen a repeat of what Porter did to Paul, because Porter was landing jabs. I mean, he was landing those jabs and setting up those, using the jab to set up those combinations. I didn't see too much of that. It was just more or less Danny just stalking him and walking him down and just throwing. And I guess hey, when you're not afraid of anything that's coming back to you, that's what you do, I guess. But overall, I mean, like I said, it was not. I didn't find that overly entertaining, and like I said, mercifully, at least the ref stopped it. So, like I said, it's a decent debut for Danny, but right now, Danny is looking very beatable. So Heyman's going to have to really navigate 147 with him very carefully. As for Paulie, Paulie should really now consider, should really call it a career. Or if he wants to fight, at least have a farewell fight. So find someone who is a journeyman of some sort. Find a very low-ranked journeyman, and then just try to get 8-round or a 10-round and end your career with a win. Because I mean, it's clear that age and everything is caught up to Paulie. I don't ever see him winning another belt again, much less beating any of these contenders, much less the champions. So, Paulie has a second gig. I mean, he can go back into the broadcast booth and, drop his insight and whatnot. But his fighting career is done. He's finished, and he should, if he's gonna fight, he better fight one more time against some very low rank. That's not gonna brutalize him. And then that's it. So so those are my thoughts on the PBC card. Believe it or not, I think there's actually one tonight on Bounce. Rashid Warren, I guess he's going to be the first Olympian from the 2012 team to go for a title tonight. Although for the life of me, why Al put it on Bounce is, I don't understand. I mean, I have it. It's one of those, like I said, I pay for files, and sometimes I'm just surprised that, sometimes when boxing comes on these channels, I feel like, oh, I have this channel. This is great. This is one of them, except Bounce is not HD. It's SD, but beggars can't be choosers, right? I have it. I could be just streaming it off their website, but I won't have to do that tonight. So yeah, if that card turned out to be notable, and I know there's just 2 other fights that are going to be televising, 154 fights. I think one of them was with Julian Jackson's kid, the one that got knocked out by Andy Lee. So that's my thoughts on PBC tonight and from yesterday. And till next time, peace.